Good evening, everyone. Welcome to You Got the Power to Save Lives Teen Summit. It is our pleasure. We are the New Jersey Sharing Network, and I want to give you just a little history about the Sharing Network. We are the organ procurement organization for the state of New Jersey where we save and enhance lives. Today, we have five of the most fabulous young people that you will ever meet. Each of them have their own story, their own journey, and I'm telling you, you will not be bored today. And it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce my friend, Sam Prince.
Well, Denise, thank you for introducing me. So I will be hosting tonight's panel, but before we get the questions on, I'm gonna share my story, and you guys will share your story. So when I was 8 years old, I received the gift of life, a heart transplant. I was born with a half a heart and one working lung, and they tried to fix me, couldn't really do it. So my whole childhood, really first part of my childhood, I was sick as a dog, couldn't do a lot of stuff. I couldn't go to school. I started school a year later. I couldn't walk up the stairs. I couldn't ride a bike. I couldn't hang out with my friends. I know, it's terrible. But hey, I tried to look at the good side. One day I'm going to get better. So I got better. And I received the gift of life on March 14th, 2011. And I recently celebrated 10 years with my heart. Can't believe it's been 10 years. It's been a long journey. And the NJ Sharing Network has played a huge role in this journey. And they've helped me spread organ and tissue awareness to everyone so they can save lives. And I'm living proof. Organ donation works. And now we're going to get off. We're going to go to my good friend, Emma Rothman, who, fun fact, we both got our heart transplant less than 30 days apart. And we both got ours at New York Presbyterian Children's Hospital. And she got hers on April 1st. I got mine on March 14th, as I said. And she was the person after me who got a heart transplant. Off to you, Emma.
Thank you, Sam, for that warm introduction. First, I want to thank the New Jersey Sharing Network for having me. I really value these conversations, and I'm so excited to be here. And it's nice to be here with all these other amazing panels as well. My story is quite an unusual experience, I'll say, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that my story wouldn't be my story if it weren't for the generosity of my donor family. I'm here today because of their extraordinary act of humanity. And every time I tell my story, I make it a point to really start with that. I wasn't born sick like Sam. I wasn't sick for a long time. I had no idea what a heart transplant was until like 4 days after I had my heart transplant. And I learned really quickly then what this world kind of was. And I had to have a lot of the conversations that we're going to talk about today after the fact, which is why it's so important for me to do these panel discussions to ensure that nobody else is really in that position of not knowing what organ and tissue donation is. So thank you so much for having me. And Sam, take it away.
Hey, Emma, we've connected over the years, the NJ Sharing Network, and we're going to go to Amir.
Okay, so I'm Amir. So I guess I told my story then. When I was 9, my sister got in an accident, and we had to donate her organs. And I don't know. I'm like nervous. I don't talk.
Okay, Amir, it's all good.
Cause like. So my sister was hit by a car. We had to donate her kidneys, her heart, and her liver, and she saved the lives of 3 kids. Yeah, that's why I do what I do, to keep her gift alive, on her memory.
Amir, every time I hear a story like that, it saddens me. But hey, Zoe's proud of you every day. She's looking down from heaven. And we're going to go to Alexa. She has a pretty unique story, and she's going to tell hers now.
Hi, so my name is Alexa. And my journey with organ and tissue donation started when I was about 8 years old. My father received the gift of life. And at the time before my father received his heart transplant, I really watched him go through a lot. I didn't know what was going on. I was too young to understand it. But I saw my dad lying in a hospital bed. He couldn't really be at anything that was part of my life, and he was basically lifeless. And then he received the gift of life, and everything changed so fast. I watched my father within a few months. He was playing basketball. He was coming to my cheerleading competitions, and he was just supporting me in all facets of my life. And I was so inspired by it, but I didn't understand it at the time. And then when I got a little bit older, I really wanted to learn about what happened to my dad when I was like 8 years old. So when I was 13, I became an ambassador for the New Jersey Sharing Network. And I started learning about what organ and tissue donation was. And I was so inspired by it that I decided to become president of the Donate Life Club at my high school. And I made it my mission to really just inform high school students about what organ and tissue donation was and the decision that they have to become an organ donor. And I learned so much from working with high school students. And I'm so happy that I was able to have that experience, because when I graduated high school, I had an army of over 100 students who were so passionate about organ and tissue donation, and they didn't even know anything about it before. So I'm so happy that I was able to do that. And now I'm a freshman at the University of Florida, and I'm still continuing my mission of spreading awareness about organ and tissue donation. So I'm really excited to answer all of your questions. And I thank you guys for having me here today, because I love these conversations, and I'm so happy that I'm able to be surrounded by such amazing panelists that have similar stories.
Well, Alexa, I would never, I was like your dad who received the gift of life. I wouldn't know what it was like looking at him, sorry. Probably so sad, but with that journey you went on, now you can share why it's so important to become an organ and tissue donor. And before we get to Tiffany, remember, you guys at home can ask us anything about organ and tissue donation. Just put it in the chat or in the comments. Now, Tiffany, why don't you share your story?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tiffany, and I'm currently a freshman at Seton Hall University. I'm new to the New Jersey Sharing Network. I never knew what an organ did, pretty much, until when I was 15. My doctor called my mom and said that I had to be rushed into the hospital, and that one phone call is what changed my life forever. Because at the hospital, they took blood work and they found that my kidneys were completely shut down. And at first, I was a kid. I was playing volleyball. I was ready to go. I was a sophomore in high school, so I was preparing to apply to colleges and preparing to start my future. But that one phone call, it just paused everything. And I never thought that I would be here today, or that I would even have the opportunity to go to college, to live my life. And 4 months later, July 6, 2018, I received my kidney transplant. The doctor called my mother the day before and said that there was a kidney for me. That was honestly the best day of my life. And I'm so thankful for the New Jersey Sharing Network and for my hospital and my doctors. And I'm honestly thankful for everybody that's involved in this right now, because you're taking the time out to share. You're taking time out to share that people have the opportunity to save lives, and they just don't know it yet.
Tiffany, you bring a great point there. People have the opportunity, but they don't know it. And you played volleyball, and I know Emma personally for a long time, and she is a huge volleyball player, so that's why she was probably going to chime in. But Tiffany, we're gonna keep it with you here. Tiffany, what challenges have you faced since your transplant? And just a little thing, I personally have faced so many challenges across the way, but any challenge is meant to be broken. Anything is possible. So it's a challenge at a time, but when you look back out of it, you say, I accomplished that. So what's something that was a challenge and you accomplished that you're proud of?
Well, personally, my biggest challenge was like understanding that that I had to go through this experience, because when my kidneys failed, I was introduced to a whole new network of people. I was introduced to an entirely different situation, and that was probably my biggest challenge. But now I'm seeing that it wasn't really a challenge that should be considered a challenge, because I knew that if I kept pushing through, I would make it through. But it didn't seem like it at the time, because I was sick and I was in a hospital bed. I had to take medicine for the rest of my life. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? But now I'm realizing that this was the best thing of my life, and it made me who I am today. So I am honestly grateful for everything that's happened.
I'm also grateful. I am every day I wake up and I say, I have the greatest gift someone can ever give to me, a heart transplant. And I tell everyone I meet, your greatest gift could be, people, an ordinary person could say the greatest gift is a phone, a computer, an iPad, or a dog. I do want a dog, but my parents won't let me. But that's a whole other story for another day. But it's really, my heart transplant is truly a gift that no one will ever take away from me, hopefully. As you said, truly a gift to wake up and say, thank you for that donor. If you're ever looking down on a negative day, I say, I'm just happy to be here, happy to be alive. And now we're going to go to Amir. And Amir, as a family member, as your family, have you ever discussed organ and tissue donation or prior to your terrible experience?
So actually, we, at least for me, they hadn't talked about it with me, considering I was 9 when everything happened. So I was just a kid. So I never had a conversation about organ donation, transplantation. Honestly, I didn't know what it was. So no.
Yeah, it probably was a shell shock to you, sadly. And, before my transplant, I knew about it, but I didn't really know a lot about it. When I was on a list for my heart transplant, I was 7 years old. But, who's gonna know at 7 years old? And now I'm gonna throw it to another recipient here. Tiffany, what did you know anything about organ donation and transplantation prior to your experience?
In my family, there was a history of kidney disease, but it never got to the point where, in my knowledge, I never knew that you could give I knew that you can give somebody your organs, but I didn't know that it would be like I never knew that I would need it. Like, it was always like I see it on TV, I see it on Twitter, I see people asking for kidneys, I see people asking for hearts and livers and all types of organs. But for it to come into my life, that's when it hit. I was like, this is big. Like, not just because, and then I saw that it didn't just affect me, it affected millions of people my age. It affected people older than me, younger than me, in all different races, all different cultures, and all different beliefs. So that's when it really hit that this is a big deal.
Yes, it is a big deal. And we're going to go to our next question. Now, we're going to go to Alexa. Why and how did you start the Donate Life Club at your high school?
So I think that the first thing that really made me want to get involved with this club was finding out that 18 years old was when people would decide if they wanted to become an organ donor or not. So to me, high school seems like the perfect age for people to start learning about it, because they were going to be coming up to that pivotal decision. And I've heard of a lot of people that didn't even know, like what you guys were saying, they didn't even know what organ donation was before they had a terrible experience with it. And so I wanted to make sure that people really knew about the decision that they were going to make. So when they got their license, they didn't just click no because they didn't know what it was. So I really just, when I got to high school, I wasn't sure like how to go about starting this club. But I kind of just got together like a group of students, and I was like, hey, would you want to be in this club? And I hosted a meeting, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen, if anybody was going to support it. And I kind of just got up there and told my story, and it was met with overwhelming support. And I knew at that moment, like, this is something that I can do. I can get high school students to believe in this and to come and to get involved. And after that, it kind of just took off, and we kept having events, and I kept getting more support. And so really the biggest hurdle was the beginning, getting people to like realize what my mission was and why we were doing this. And then after that, the support just kept flowing, and it was just really inspiring to see.
Yes, I'm sure it was for you. And I'm in high school. I'm a junior at West Essex Regional High School. I try to convince all my friends to become an organ and tissue donor, but some of them say no. Most of my friends do, because they saw what I went through. They saw it really does work. And we're going to go to Emma here. Emma, what ways do you continue to advocate for organ donation?
At the time, I wish I had Alexa's courage to start a chapter in my high school. But I think my family went a different route, and we geared our advocacy more towards hospital advocacy. So about a year and a half after my heart transplant, my family and I established Hearts for Emma, which is our nonprofit, which specifically focuses on organ and tissue donation. And one of my favorite things that our nonprofit does is we do a college scholarship to ensure that the work that students are doing in high school continues in their college careers, wherever that may be. And I think one of the biggest, I would say, factors that motivated us to ensure that our mission and vision statements had that education and advocacy piece is to ensure that families don't find themselves in situations where they have to have those difficult conversations in even more difficult times, right? So I had no idea what a heart transplant was. None of my family did. And all of a sudden we were in the situation of, your daughter's really sick. This is what has to happen. So we tried to gear a lot of our content towards making it approachable and not so much a taboo conversation, but more of a conversation that this is something everybody needs to have, because you never know when you're going to need to have that conversation and wish you already had it. So that gears most of our advocacy conversations, and I'm so happy that Tiffany and Alexa are here today.
I continue to advocate for organ and tissue donation everywhere I go. Emma knows. But you aren't happy to have me and Amir here? Wow.
I'm just extra happy because I have the scholarship.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll have the scholarship soon, but that's another conversation for another day. And let me add to what Emma had. I continue to advocate for organ donation in so many ways. I'm going to tell a little funny story. When I went to Pasadena, California, and I rode the Donate Life float in the Rose Parade to advocate for organ donation. But that's not the story. I get a kick out of this every time I tell the story. So I was in an airplane. I was online to go to the bathroom. Sorry, I'm laughing. And I'm talking to this man, and he was asking me, why are you flying to LA? You seeing family for Christmas? Like, no, I'm gonna be on the Donate Life float on the Rose Parade. And I told him my story, and he was brought to tears. And he says, I'm flying home now. Right when I get home, right when the DMV comes, somehow I'm gonna go and become an organ donor. I'm gonna convince all my family to, because you have just changed my life forever. And that's just a little story that I have. I do it so many ways. I just thought that is a funny story that I have. And yeah, and then he just made a nice donation to the Sharing Network that night too. But that's another thing. And we're going to go back to Amir here. Amir, how do you honor your sister's selfless gift?
So ways I honor my sister's gift, I talk about her, I tell all my friends, I try to bring up the fact that she saves people's lives any chance that I get. So be it just I'm wearing a green band on the street, somebody say, oh, I like your band. I try to tell her story. When I was in high school, I would have my mother come in all the time so she could talk to them, my friends, about organ donation. Just different ways like that.
As I said, I'm sure Zoe is extremely proud. And Alexa, how do you honor your dad?
So I think that by telling my father's story and by continuing to support the sharing network and just raise awareness wherever I go. That's really how I'm honoring my father's donor, because clearly my father's donor was in support of organ and tissue donation. And so I think that by spreading awareness and by telling other people about this and by trying to get more support, that's really just the best way that we can honor the gifts that we've been given.
Before we get to Tiffany, myself, and Emma, just a friendly reminder, go ask questions in the chat. We're here to answer your questions. You could do it. There's no bad question about organ donation. There is no dumb question. I've gotten the question of these so many questions. I've never looked at them as dumb, because truly, if I was in their shoes, I would ask the same kind of questions. Anything you can ask. But Tiffany, how do you honor your donor?
Personally, whenever I go out and when I have the opportunity to share my story, I'm sharing it. I don't care if you want to hear it, I'm going to tell you, because it's now I realize that I'm not just living for me. I'm living for my donor, I'm living for my donor's family, and I'm honestly living for each and every one of us that's here, because there's lots of people out here who need organs. So I've taken it like upon myself to spread the word, because I don't want to see other people in my situation and just lose hope. I would like for everybody to just be able to have that little bit of hope that I had when I was going through my situation, so that they can understand that they can make it through if they keep going.
Tiffany, I would say everything what you just said. You probably said a little better than me, but we're going to go to Emma. How do you honor your donor?
I think a little bit probably of what everybody said. I think I also take care of myself, or try to. Being in college is a bit difficult at times, but I think self-care for transplant recipients isn't face masks and, taking a long shower. It's staying on top of your doctor's appointments and taking your meds and contacting pharmacies and documenting everything to make sure that you're taking as good and best care of yourself as possible to ensure that you're honoring this incredible gift that you've been given. And that looks like setting an alarm and having everyone in your family set alarms to take your meds, and having your boyfriend's family know what time it is by the sound of your phone blaring. But it's stuff like that that means a lot, and I think also goes a long way to show how much we care. And at any opportunity or at any question, we would love to talk about our experiences.
Yeah, one way I honor my donor every year on my heart birthday, which is on March 14th, me and my family, we write a little note to my donor, and we attach them on a red heart balloon, and my balloon is a heart, and the others are just red balloons. And we're going to go to Tiffany here. How has COVID-19 impacted you, and it wouldn't if you were not a recipient?
COVID-19, it's impacted a lot of people throughout the entire world. But for me, as a kidney transplant recipient, it was like a wake-up alarm, because now I was already being careful, like not to getting into contact with anything because I'm immunosuppressed. But now it's like I have to be extra careful. And it's now, since I got the opportunity to receive the vaccine, I still have to be extra careful, but I can like calm down a little bit, I guess. But I'm not real. But like people still aren't sure about it. So people not getting vaccinated, that can help. That can potentially harm other people, like myself and like the people here today, because some of us are immunosuppressed, and if this vaccine is what they say that it is, then it can potentially save our lives and save the lives of a lot of people.
I hope it is too. I got my second dose of my vaccine a couple weeks ago, so I'm fully vaxxed. Let's hope it is. And now we got a question from Megan Kelly for Alexa. She said, I'm a social worker, student, and recipient of a kidney and pancreas. How do you suggest I go about organizing any event for my school?
Great question. So I think that something that's important to remember, first of all, is your first event is going to start off small. So something that I would suggest, get together a few friends, try to announce it in some of your classes if you can. One of the events that I planned when our club was first starting that I think was really successful was our volleyball event. And that's something that I think that you have to focus on when you're creating like one of your first events is make it something fun, make it something a little bit lighthearted, and just slowly introduce the topic. So if you get all of these people to come out to a volleyball event, you can do that. You can promote it on Facebook, get your friends, announce it in your classes, do something fun. And then at the end, tell your story and people will be hooked and they'll want to come back for more. So my advice is really just do something fun. Your first event doesn't have to be huge, but definitely try to, there's so many ways that you can promote it. Facebook is a great way, your classes. And yeah, I mean, best of luck with that.
Amazing answer, Alexa. And now we're going to the next question. And this is for me. And Lisa asks, if you are a recipient, can you be a future donor? It depends on the situation. Every recipient is different. And Emma, I think you're nodding your head. Do you want to comment on that? So you don't want to comment on that. You just agree. That's what I thought. All right. Now we're going to go to our next question here. We're back to Alexa. Another question. What activities do you really just answered the question. What other activities do you suggest Donate Life Club participants to really do? But you said volleyball. Would maybe a bake sale or maybe some type of drive be there? What was your best events that you planned?
Yeah, so another event that I love, that's my favorite event, is our bubble release. So how the bubble release works is every year we pick a different family to honor a donor family. I know we honored Zoe one year. And so basically we have this family come out and we have them tell their story. And this is always like very personal. There's always tears. And I think it really resonates with our high school students, having the family right in front of them, sharing their story. And it's always just such a beautiful time. We release bubbles, we give them a plaque in memory. And that's probably my favorite event because I think it's the heaviest, but it really resonates with the students.
Yes, that would definitely resonate with me, but I'm not a student here at high school. And now the next question we got from the chat, we got from Gary for Amir. Why do you think some young people may say no to being a donor?
So honestly, for me, I think it's a lot to do with like pop culture and like how it's portrayed in like media, so like TV shows and movies. Because a lot of times where I watch like Grey's Anatomy or any other show really on that network right now where they'll talk about organ donation in a bad light or try to make it like somebody trying to steal your organs, they're not going to save your life if you're an organ donor, when it's really just not the case at all. Like they're going to try your hardest to save you regardless of whether you're an organ donor or not. So that's honestly why I feel like a lot of young people say no to being a donor. Because what they see like on the internet and like TV shows and movies.
They just don't know. And now the next question will go to Emma Rothman. You guys are so young. Have any of you ever met your donor families? And if yes, how was that experience? We're going to start with Emma here.
So every recipient is different in how they wish to honor their donor family, and that kind of relationship that they want to have is completely up to them. And I think that's like one of the most powerful experiences of being a transplant recipient is deciding what kind of relationship you want to have with your donor family. I personally have not met my donor family yet, but I know lots of recipients who have. And Sam was talking about the Rose Bowl parade, and there's lots of transplant community events where you meet donor families and you get to hear their stories and connect with them on a level that you didn't even know was possible from having so many shared experiences. And those experiences are so moving and so touching. There's really just not enough words to kind of describe what it's like to meet a donor family and to relate together. So I don't know, Tiffany, have you met your donor family?
No, I haven't met my donor's family, but I wrote a letter to them. I think it was a couple days after my transplant because I was just so overwhelmed with how they showed that that humans still have the ability to love each other and to be kind to each other. So that for me and my mother, that it just touched us that somebody actually cared enough to try to save my life and to actually save my life.
I'm going to share my experience. I unfortunately have not met my donor family yet. Hopefully one day I get to meet them. I just recently wrote a letter to my donor family. I hope that they read it and that they want to meet me. I just have some type of relationship with them. Sorry, I get a little emotional when I say this, so if I cry a little, that's why. And as I said, I received my gift of life, my heart transplant at 8 years old, and I always wanted to write a letter to my donor family, but you're 8 years old. I didn't truly understand it. And to tell you the truth, guys, at 18, it's still you're getting new things every day. It's like a brand new experience every day for me. But I finally have matured to grown up and say, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write them. Hopefully I get to meet them, know what their child was like, love them. And hopefully, as I said, a relationship. But I know a lot of people, they've had great relationships. I know some people, they've not replied. I've gotten some help with some people who've helped me write the letter. And now we're going to go with the next question to Amir. Have you ever met any of your sister's recipients?
I actually have. So I've met her kidney recipient, Abel, and it was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life when I met him. So it was a lot of things that I see in him. I see Zoe do. So like just the energy that he just exudes just reminds me so much of Zoe and how I just imagine her living her life now. So yeah, I've met some of them.
And I'm sure there's a part of Abel that's in Zoe. I mean, Zoe is in Abel somehow. Zoe's still living, the spirit of her. And I hope, one day, as I said, I get to meet my donor family. But we're going to go to Alexa here. Have you ever met, no, we're not doing that. We're going to Alexa here. What is the purpose of the Donate Life Club?
So I think that one of the things that's so great about the Donate Life Club is that the purpose really is raising awareness. And I think a lot of times, a lot of organizations, it's raising money, which is great, but a lot of times that can deter people from wanting to be involved. And the Donate Life Club, we really focus on getting people to know about the choice that they have. So any opportunity that we can get, we try to really raise awareness. And so our events are always free. We never ask for money. We just want people to come and listen to us. So we've really seen a lot of that take flight in the past couple of years, because by bringing in these speakers, we've inspired students to go home, talk to their families about what decision they want to make, if they want to be an organ donor, discuss their wishes with their families. So if that decision ever has to be made, their family would be aware of what they want. And I think that's really the purpose, is to get the conversation going, raise awareness, get them to talk about it with other people, and just spread the mission as far as we can.
Yeah, I mean, we have to spread the mission, or everyone become an organ donor if you're not so already. And I just want to thank the audience for bringing in some questions. And remember, if you have not wrote a question down, you can still do. We got time. No question is not answerable. And Amir or Emma or Tiffany, if you have the courage of Alexa, would you start a Donate Life Club at your high school or your college? We're going to start with Emma. Would you start a Donate Life Club at Syracuse or no?
I think so. Everything is always better in hindsight. So I think knowing now, if I had known like and felt more comfortable with myself then than I am now, probably. I think my preference is to really do most of our outreach through Hearts for Emma. I feel I really enjoy working with that community, and I think it kind of broadens it outside of the Syracuse, or I'm a student at Syracuse University, and I think working with Hearts for Emma kind of gives us a larger reach than just at Syracuse. And we've met and partnered with lots of amazing organizations who are doing awesome work on physical college campuses. So I think it's a bit of a combination of both, but yeah, I would have started one 4 years ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to start one at my high school. At least I have to bring it up to some people. So let's all be like Alexa here. And just a friendly reminder, if you want a high school program and you want the NJ Sharing Network to come and speak to your high school and tell everyone why you should be an organ and tissue donor, just email education@njsharingnetwork.org. Don't you want Denise or Amanda or someone to come in your high school and share their story and why they should be an organ donor? I think I would, but hopefully when COVID ends, hopefully it does. And, when we're back to normal, maybe Denise will come to my high school and speak, and I'll speak with her about my story and share my experience. And let's spread organ and tissue donation. All right, we're going to go back to you, Emma. How can others watching this make an impact and spread awareness?
Like Alexa mentioned before, I also really believe in the power of conversation and reaching out. All it takes is a conversation. And I'll be the first to say that these conversations can be really difficult, especially talking about your wishes after or if you should die is super uncomfortable and not really socially accepted. So definitely give yourself some grace with this, and maybe start by saying, today I went to the super cool panel where we talked about organ and tissue donation, and bring it up like that. And you'd be surprised how receptive people are too. And the New Jersey Sharing Network has amazing resources on their website that we've helped design to kind of assist this conversation, to help make it a little bit less taboo and more approachable, because at the end of the day, you never know when you might need to have this conversation. And our approach is, let's try to have this conversation before you need to have this conversation. So it's a little bit less stressful, and you can kind of iron everything out beforehand. And again, we have awesome resources to help with that if you ever need them.
We have an amazing resources at the NJ Sharing Network, as you said. Now, this question is for Tiffany. What kind of volunteer activities have you done in your community?
I haven't really done like current stuff in my community, but at my doctor's office, sometimes there's some people who are shy and they don't really want to get into the entire talk about receiving a kidney transplant, or just, as Emma said, that talk is kind of taboo. Like, you don't want to, that's hard to have that talk. So sometimes I'll just go and I'll share my story, or I'll allow my doctor to share that story. And hearing that in 4 months, I was sick in a hospital bed with extremely high blood pressure. And then 4 months later, and I was back, I was healthy, and I was ready to get back into the world. So hearing that, it just helps you understand that it's not really something that shouldn't be talked about, because it can happen to anybody, it can happen anywhere at any time. So it just, my volunteer has been really like bringing hope to others and just brightening their day, I guess.
Yes. Bring hope, bright everyone's day. Positivity is great. Now, we're going to continue this question with Emma. Emma, the floor is yours.
So I think another really important part of my story that I didn't have a chance to share before is the power of community. And our communities from all over graciously stepped in when I was sick and took care of my family. No one asked any questions. No one cared. Everyone just wanted to know what they could do to help. And my town actually set up blood drives in my honor while I was in the hospital. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that all transplant recipients at some point might need a blood transfusion. And so different community events where you can talk about organ and tissue donation and advocacy are at blood drives. I volunteered at a lot of blood drives. I've spoken at a lot of blood drives. I've personally walked up to every single person donating blood and said thank you. And I think that that's a really great partnership and easy way to get out in the community, especially they happen a lot at community centers. And my town has them almost every month. And it's a great way to also bust myths about organ and tissue donation by being there and talking face to face with people and having that conversation. And it's super powerful that you get to start it now with all these resources.
We're going to go to this very last question we have, but we're going to go to everyone. But, we're going to first start with Amir. What would you say to a younger person if they're thinking about becoming an organ donor? What would you say?
So probably the first thing I would say would be have the conversation with your family first and foremost, to actually just to get the gears turning, to let everybody know how you're feeling and what you want to do in your life, and just so nobody will be surprised in case the worst could happen and you in that situation where you have to become a donor. You don't want your family to be upset or caught off guard by your decision already. So just have a conversation with them and let them know what you're feeling, what you're thinking.
Have a conversation with your family. It may be awkward, as Emma said and Tiffany said, but we're going to go to Alexa. What's something that you would tell someone, a younger person, if they're thinking of becoming an organ and tissue donor?
I think I would remind them of how different my life would be without organ and tissue donation. My father would not have made it without the heart transplant. And today I'm so thankful that my father is here. He's such a big part of my life. And I mean, I was only 8 years old. I wouldn't have had a father without it. So I'm just so thankful for everyone who's willing to give that gift. I'm so thankful to my father's donor. And I think that what I would say is that if you can give that gift, I mean, it's rare. You can sign up to become an organ donor, and the chances of you even becoming a donor are only like 1%. So if you have the opportunity to give that gift, it really does mean so much to the person who gets it. And I'm eternally grateful for those people who are willing to do that. So I would say that I'm definitely very in favor of it. And I think that the people who receive the transplants are so appreciative of it for life. And I think that that's really important.
Same question to you, Emma.
I would say the similar things. I would say it's really kind of easy to be afraid and think like, oh, that's not going to happen to me. I definitely thought that. I thought I had mono, and I went to the doctor's office and went into end-stage cardiac arrest. So the connection between, or on the spectrum, heart transplants here and mono's all the way on the other side, you would never think that those two incidents could be related. And I was only 12 years old at the time, so you can imagine all of my family's surprise when we were told that a heart transplant was necessary. But I think it would have been a lot easier on my family had we had that conversation beforehand. So if this isn't proof, I don't know what will be. Have the conversation with your family.
And as I said, Emma and I have known each other for 10 years now. And Emma, every time you share that story, I can't believe you thought you had mono. It gets me every time. We're going to go with Tiffany. Same question here.
First, I think that I would thank them for even taking the time to consider donating their organs and their tissues so that they can save another person's life. Because it's a hard decision. You never know what you want to do with, some people, they don't want to share, but sharing is good sometimes. Most of the time, sharing is good. So just sharing, it won't. And I really don't know like how I would address somebody in this situation, because I think that I would just have to share my story and show how receiving a transplant honestly changed my life and my entire mindset, and how it changed the life of my family, and how now it's just that it's I would just be thankful that they even take the time out to think that saving somebody else's life would be beneficial, which it is.
Yes, it is. So something I would say to a younger person who's thinking to themselves, should I become an organ donor? I'm not quite sure. You know what I would do? I'd share my story and say it's not a myth. Show why it's so powerful to become one, and what you can do with just a simple decision to just check off the box. And have a conversation with your family. And thank you, everyone, for joining today. And Emma, Amir, Alexa, Tiffany. And let's thank the NJ Sharing Network for organizing this. Let's thank Denise, wherever she is right now. Oh, she's logging on now. Let's thank her. Thank you, Denise, for organizing this for us and everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel confident. I feel secure in knowing that young people like Emma, Sam, Tiffany, Amir, and Alexa are out there taking this amazing journey to other people and telling them about it. And now you other young people are doing the same. And I do believe that this whole entire transplant organ donation community will change just because of you and just because of tonight. I want to thank the New Jersey Sharing Network for putting this all together and bringing these young, dynamic men and women that we have known since they were very, very young. And it's so great to see all of you. Make sure you check out our website for more information. And you can go to education at njsharingnetwork.org if you would like us to come to your school, because we have so much information. And yes, we are presenting virtually. So get you a good counselor at school and make sure that they, call us. We are ready and willing to come. And who knows? We may come to your school to present or even on Zoom, and you might see one of these young people with me or with one of our presenters. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Don't forget, you have the power to save lives. Good night.